Hello everyone, and welcome back to another edition of our Tech Tuesday webinar series, titled The Next Chapter of Precision. Discover the latest SRG Firmware 3.0 upgrade. I'm Joe Diacetis, and today we're thrilled to be showcasing the latest version 3.0 firmware upgrade for our A40 and A12 PTZ cameras, along with 4 new and exciting features that come with it. After our live demonstration, we'll be hosting a Q&A session, so be sure to drop your questions in the question panel below. Additionally, we'll be sharing some helpful reference links with you throughout the webinar, so be sure to check those out in the chat. Now, I'd like to introduce my colleagues who will be guiding you through the firmware upgrade, Ken Kobayashi and Andrew Buttress.
Thank you, Joe. This is Drew Buttress, Senior Product Manager for Sony's PTZ cameras. This is our entire Sony professional PTZ camera lineup, from our high-end broadcast quality BRCs to our more B2B type cameras, the SRG line. We're going to be concentrating on the SRG A40 and A12 in this presentation. The environment that these cameras are most typically used in, whether they're broadcast quality or not, certainly house of worship, corporate. We're very big into the education market, government, medical, with the 4K 60p capable BRC AM7 live sports production and events are capable or possible. So the cameras, the A40 and the A12, come in a white or black case. The SRG A40 and A12, we first announced these in 2023. They are 4K 30p out of the box. The A40 comes with a 20 times optical lens zoom. The A12 comes with a 12 times optical zoom lens. The cameras have a variety of outputs, a 3G SDI, which would let you bring full HD out, or if you want to use 4K, you can use HDMI or any of these IP streaming formats. The big thing about these cameras is we have the built-in AI for PTZ auto framing, meaning you don't need a PC connected after you have set up and started the auto framing process. So some of the key features here is the built-in auto tracking, where we're controlling all 3 axes, pan, tilt, and zoom. You've got the ability to set up the exact, do you want a full body, waist up, or even a head shoulder shot? And then with the latest firmware, you can adjust those accordingly. Our tracking is outstanding. We have one of the most accurate tracking histories, if you will, compared to some of our competitors, because we're tracking the skeletal movement, we're tracking on the position of the human head, as well as things like the color and pattern of whatever clothes you're wearing and your shape and size. And what this all comes down to is a truly natural look for framing, giving your far-end viewer the impression you've actually got a manned operator controlling the camera. So the cool thing about Sony's AI is that we are continuously evolving it. We've had AI in our digital still cameras for some time to help with focus. We've now put it in for built-in auto framing in our AI-based cameras. For the SRG A40 and A12, our initial release was September of 2023, and that gave you not only the skeletal detection, but we were able to track a single person, even if they are in a group of people. You've also got the ability for automatic target selection and very simple setup for choosing that framing angle. In September of 24, we added the ability to do multi-person framing, face registration, where you can pre-register a face, set a priority, and then that person, the highest priority person detected by the camera is who we will now be auto framing. And then a much easier way to kind of fine tune your framing position. And then just this past June, right after InfoComm, we released version 3.0. That adds in 3 more or 4 more capabilities. First, we've added tracking range, which Ken will go into, along with fixed angle position, as well as composition preset. So some of the basic AI, like I said, we're tracking a person, a human figure, with all 3 axes, meaning pan, tilt, and zoom. And we can track them regardless of their body position. If they bend down or sit down, the camera will tilt down. If they come closer to the lens, we're going to widen the shot. If they move away from the lens, we're going to tighten the shot. And then it allows us to naturally frame a person. So not only are we detecting the a subject skeleton, we actually launched the tracking algorithms by detecting their face, and we also follow the subject's head position because we're trying to keep the headroom, meaning the top of the head to the top of the frame, consistent no matter what position that person is. As I said, we have the three basic angles here. The full body is literally head to toe. Waist up is what it sounds like, and then close up is your head shoulder tight shot. So with the built-in analytics, we've been able to achieve almost instant movement of the camera versus some latency that might happen when you're using an external PC or a device like the Sony REA-C1000. It also reduces your system costs. You don't need that external PC. And then installation, because it is a PoE++ camera, you can power it, control it, and stream all across a single Cat5e, Cat6 cable. Sony's SRG cameras have become a favorite in education settings. Recently, the University of Nevada, Las Vegas integrated our SRG cameras into their classrooms, where instructors praised the advanced features that help create flexible and dynamic learning environments. Frank Alimo, manager of classroom technology at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, is proud to partner with Sony, and with the new version 3.0 firmware upgrade, the university can now take their learning spaces to the next level, enhancing both engagement and versatility for students and educators alike. That wraps up my section of this presentation. Now we'll take a look at the version 3.0 features in the following video, and Ken will take it over on the other side.
Thanks, Drew. Let me start explaining version 3.0 new features. In the latest firmware, we added four major features: tracking range, fixed angle position, lead room effect, and composition preset. Let me explain one by one. The first, tracking range. What is new? In the current version, our camera try to follow the subject as much as possible, but with this tracking range option, we can set the limit, active tracking area in the field. So once the subjects step out this range, camera instantly pause the tracking and go back to home position and wait for next subject to get in. So this feature is really useful at a classroom, and also this feature can be used at the concert. Only the tracking is activated when a singer, comes closer to a microphone stand. Let me explain how we can use tracking range. This is a lecture hall. When the teacher get into the detection zone and active tracking range, the camera starts following the teacher. But as soon as teacher stepped out from the active tracking range, camera release him and go back to home position and wait for next presenter to get in. So with this tracking range feature, it makes easier to switch the presenter without any human interaction by clicking or something. So this is really useful at classroom operation and also the stage presentation. Fixed angle position. This is also newly added. Fixed angle position is the feature that we can set some predefined area in the frame. So when the subject comes in to this predefined area, camera will change the angle framing to predefined, and the presenter can walk freely within this area. So this is really useful at a classroom situation when the teacher comes closer to the whiteboard. Cameras keep the angle of a whiteboard screen, and teacher can walk freely in front of the whiteboard. The camera will not follow the teacher in this area, and after stepping out this area, camera will go back to presenter tracking mode. So camera starts following the teacher again. So this feature can be used for a corporate presentation when there are some keynote speech behind in front of the big screen. When the CEO comes closer to the screen, camera will move to pre-fixed angle, and CEO can walk freely in front of the area. But when he stepped out this area, camera will go back to presenter tracking mode on him. So how we can use fixed angle position? We can set one predefined area in the frame, and when the teacher comes closer to this predefined area, camera will move to the predefined angle size. So teacher will be able to move freely in front of that whiteboard or blackboard, and after stepping out this area, camera will go back to presenter tracking mode and follow the teacher again. So this is really useful for a classroom environment. Next is lead room effect. This is the feature to create some space based on the presenter's the face orientation. Once the speaker face to the left, the camera will create some space on the left of the presenter. We can choose three levels of the space from low to high. So if we set it to high, there will be more space when the presenter face to the left or right. So this can be used for a kind of podcast situation when there is a speaker in the frame, and not he will not be facing to the camera, and based on his face orientation, the camera will slightly create the space. The last one is composition preset. With this composition preset, we can instantly recall the preset auto framing preset, the size and the position in the frame. So even though camera is tracking with full body angle, we can instantly recall the close up or waist up, and also we can justify to the left or right instantly. And also this function can be activated even though the camera is tracking multiple person. Like when the camera is tracking two people and we call the tighter shot, the camera will move to tighter two shots. Okay, we have recorded the demonstration, so please take a look.
Hello, I'm Ken Kobayashi, PTZ Camera Business Manager at Sony Professional Display Solutions. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to the latest version 3.0 firmware upgrade for our SRG A40 and A12 PTZ cameras. This upgrade significantly enhances our old framing capabilities with 4 key features: tracking range, fixed angle position, lead room effect, and composition preset. Moving from version 2.0 to 3.0 firmware brings many major benefits to your operation. Enhanced production value, more precise subject tracking, advanced composition tools, improved operational efficiency, simplified workflow, reduced setup time, and greater automation of common camera operations. These additions not only boost functionality, but also streamline your workflows, making our PTZ cameras more versatile than ever. But that's not all. At Sony, we are committed to long-term customer satisfaction. That's why we offer an industry-leading 5-year standard warranty on all our PTZ cameras. In addition, NDI licenses are available to download for free through the NewTek website. Finally, the SRG camera line now qualifies for our advanced replacement program, which means that if you experience any issues with selected SRG and BLC models while under warranty, you may qualify for no-cost replacement unit. We are confident these enhancements and our robust support will elevate your production capabilities. We thank you for choosing Sony Professional Display Solutions. Let me walk through tracking range demo. Now you can see a tracking range menu on the web UI, PTZ Auto Framing Setting tab. So once we activate tracking range setting, you can see blue square on the web UI. This is the boundary, predefined area to activate tracking. So once we set predefined area, the camera only works tracking within this area. Okay, let's start tracking. So we started tracking, and now camera is waiting for somebody to get in. So Nate, please come into the detection zone. Okay, now camera works perfectly for tracking Nate from left to right. But once Nate stepped out from the boundary of the tracking range, the camera instantly released him and go back to home position. And now waiting for next presenter to get in. So Joe, please come in this tracking range. So now camera picked up him, and now following him from left to right. So once Joe stepped out the boundary again in the middle of the Bravia screen, camera instantly released him and go back to home position. And now waiting for next presenter. This is the feature of a tracking range. Next, let me talk about fixed angle position. Now you can see fixed angle position menu on the web UI. Once we activate this feature, we can set one prefixed area in the frame. So we can change the position, size, whatever in the frame. Only one predefined area we can define at the same time. So once we define the predefined area as it is, oops, sorry. Okay, let us start the live demonstration. Let us start auto framing. Now camera is waiting for somebody to get in the detection zone. So Nate, please come in. Now, camera reacts present to tracking mode. So camera is following Nate from left to right. But once Nate comes closer to predefined area, camera will move to fixed angle mode. So in this area, Nate can walk freely in front of the whiteboard. Yeah, and once he stepped out this area, camera goes back to presenter tracking mode. And once he stepped out from the tracking range, camera will release him and go back to home position. This is the new feature of fixed angle position. Let me explain a lead room effect. This is really unique feature. Now you can see lead room effects icons in the framing menu. So lead room effect as a function to create some space based on the orientation of the face. So once the presenter turns right, the camera will create some space on the right side of the presenter. So we can select the amount of space from 3 levels, from low to high. So let me set to high this time, then start the demonstration. Now camera picked up Joe. So Joe, please turn right a little bit. Yep. Now camera recognizes he's gazing right side. So camera adjusted the framing and created the space. So go back to the straight. Then camera will adjust the framing to keep him center the frame. This is the new feature of our lead room effect. Let me explain the last part, composition preset. We can adjust framing composition even during auto framing. Now cameras on Joe as full body mode. So Joe, please move from left to right. So camera is now tracking him with full body angle, but we can adjust the framing size to close up and a little zoom out for close up, the waist up shot, then go back to full body shot. This is really smoothly changed, and also this function works even during multi-person framing. So let us welcome the second guest, Nate. So now camera will switch to multi-person framing mode. So camera keeps 2 of them in the frame. Now with full body 2 of them. Then we can switch it to tighter 2 of them. And also we can adjust the headroom like this. So even during the tracking, we can adjust the compositions really smoothly. This is composition preset. Now, let's go to Q&A.
Thanks, Ken. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Q&A session. Just as a reminder, if you have any questions throughout the session, to feel free to drop them in the in-event question panel. And with that, let's get started. I see some questions have already come in. So this first one is from Brian. What is the max distance of camera to subject? Drew, do you want to take that one?
Well, if you're talking about max distance to where we can detect somebody, it's well over 100 feet. The SRG A40 has a 20 times optical zoom lens, and then with our clear mid zoom feature in 4K, you can take that out to 30 times, and if you're in full HD, that can actually get stretched to 40 times. So even 100, even a little bit over 100 feet shouldn't be an issue with detecting a person's face to then start the tracking algorithm.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Drew. Let's go to this next one from Sean. Can the AI features be used in conjunction with an external controller, and will one override the other? Ken, can you answer that one?
Yeah. We can do, but not at the same time. Once we use the physical joystick while auto framing is on, you know, um, if we use joystick, the joystick instantly take over the control from auto framing, and auto framing will be paused. So we need to reactivate, the auto framing on again when need to go back to auto framing again. So we can do somehow in the same application, but not exactly at the same timing. We need to override something.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Ken. Um, let's go to this next question on NDI from Shane. What version of NDI do the cameras run on?
I'll take that one. Right now it's HX2.
Perfect. All right. And then this next question from Susan. Are the SRG A models Zoom certified?
I'll take that one too. Actually, it's interesting because they don't have a USB port, but Zoom is now taking or ingesting an NDI stream. And so the SRG A40 and SRG A12 have been Zoom certified when you're using the NDI stream capability.
Perfect. Thank you, Drew. Here's one from Charles. Can you speak to remote control options? Is there a path to improve the API for remote control options? Ken, you want to take that one?
Well, okay. There are basically two major options: VISCA control and API CZI control. The VISCA is traditional PDZ control protocol. So our physical, joystick controller and third parties, joystick controller can be used to control pan, tilt, suit, basic PDZ control. On the other hand, API has full controllability. Actually, through API, we can do almost the same thing as we can do on the web UI. So, especially the functions related to auto framing are included in API, not in Visca, traditional Visca command. Auto framing is a kind of new features to this PDZ industry. So if you want to control from external controller, especially the old framing features, you need to use API, CZI based controller like Stream Deck or something. Yeah.
Perfect. Great. Thank you, Ken. This next one's from Luke, and he was wondering, at some point during the meeting, can multi-camera setups all use AI? Can you just discuss, touch on that a little bit?
Say the question again, please.
Yeah. During a meeting or a presentation, can multi-camera setups all use AI be discussed?
Well, they certainly could. You could have a presenter cam at the back of the room looking at wherever the presenter may be. You could also have a camera facing the audience, if you will. It's just we don't have a way of auto switching between one or the other. You would need some other third party switcher to swap, which video feed you're actually gonna output. We've worked with a company called Nariva, who, with their audio soundbar, they can pick up and triangulate where the person's coming from, and then with a back end from InnoGenie, they're able to send commands, and that will do the switching without the need of a human interacting with a physical switcher. My guess is you wouldn't necessarily have auto framing on that audience facing camera, but you could certainly do it and maybe put it in multi-person mode up to 8 people.
Perfect. Great. And then, Drew, this next question, I'm going to actually pass it back to you. This one's from Michael. Do you have a roadmap for 3.0 features to be applied to the BRC AM7?
Oh, absolutely. It's funny you bring up the AM7. We just released version 2.0, and that added in multi-person framing as well as face registration, tracking range, and lead room effects. So a lot of what is in this 3.01 is in 2.0 for the AM7. I think the only thing missing is the fixed angle. I'm sure there, we had the slide earlier about how Sony is constantly evolving its AI. We own our AI. We're not buying a chip. We're not buying someone else's module and incorporating it. So we're constantly improving. Every iteration, we kind of play leapfrog, right? They'll probably be a 3.0 for the AM7 that may have something new that isn't in the SRG A, but it will be on the next upgrade to that platform.
Yeah, let me add one thing. The basic AI feature between SRG A series and BSC AM7 is the same, but we need to optimize the features to each different cameras. So SRG A series came to the market in 2023, and BLC AM7 just came the last December. So 1 year. SRG A series 1 year ahead of BLC AM7. That's why had more firmware upgrade, but soon AM7 will catch up. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you both. This next question is from Chris. So how do we employ NDI? Chris, sounds like you upgraded 3.0 this week. Ken, do you want to?
Well, let me handle that one. So if you ordered the camera with 2.0 on it, you can certainly go and download the upgrade firmware package, unzip it. You'll have a .dat file, and then do the upgrade. But if you haven't activated NDI, you will have to go into you have to download and install NDI tools, go to NDI Studio Monitor, and then it'll detect the camera. And if you look at the bottom of your camera, there will be a metallic label on it right now that has it'll actually say NDI license, and you'll see the license code there. And then inside of NDI Monitor, you type in that license code, and then it'll ask you for some other information. And once that's in, it'll activate the license for you, and away you go.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you, Drew. This next question comes from Shane. He asks, how is white balance or color temperature adjusted and set?
Well, okay, so we have a lot of different modes. We have auto trace white balance. We've got manual white balance if you really want to go tune the colors yourself. Like in the example of you've always got the same studio lighting, so the same color temperature. In most cases, a lot of people will do a one push white balance where they shoot a completely white field with the lights on they intend to use, and then they'll switch back to that auto trace white balance, which will change. So if you're in a room where you've got a lot of light potentially coming in through windows, but as the day and the sun angle changes, the color temp's going to change. At least the camera will make those adjustments automatically for you.
Great. Thank you, Drew. This next question comes from Michael. He says that they use catchbox microphones for their audience. So I think he's wondering, could you touch a little bit on how our SRG cameras track objects?
Well, we only track humans at this point. We're not doing any non-human tracking, and as I said, Sony does not have a way to do audio tracking. So in the case of a conference room where you could have multiple people on either side of a conference room table, then you have opposing cameras in the room looking at the far side of the table so you can get people's faces. We don't have the ability to say trigger a preset to take the camera to look at that person, or at least maybe a zone where that person is coming from. There are other companies that have that, but not Sony.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you, Drew. This next question comes from Andy. They ask, could you briefly review best practices on how to enable this prioritization, or how to enable this to prioritize our instructors in a classroom? They're having some difficulty with facial recognition and facial registration.
Yeah, I'd love to say, hey, you can go upload, photos off of a database, but we can't do that. We have to actually manually take snapshots of each person. So for a given semester in higher ed, you may say, oh, this classroom's going to have these 5 professors and only these 5 professors. You would have to go in, take the snapshot. You can add a name to that snapshot, and then prioritize it from 1 to 40. And then, if you falsely detect, say, a student, but then we find then the presenter steps into the field of view, the camera will automatically switch based on it's a pre-registered face and it's at higher priority than that student.
I think Andy is saying that even though he takes a snapshot through the camera and the face is, surely registered, but sometimes the result is not unexpected. So maybe that's my guess is there are some setting conflict under in the old framing menu. There is a face prioritization menu. This is actually used for a manual pickup somebody. Once we click someone's face, it works as if face registration. Camera store that person's face and try to track that person as much as possible. If that a menu is activated and you try to do face registration mode, both priorities conflict sometimes, and not intentionally the pick up the intended subject all the time. So please check the setting if you disable face face personalization. Yeah. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Ken. This next question comes from Deaton. How many ranges of PTZ cameras does Sony have?
Well, we have 2, right? So we have our BRC lineup, which is really intended at the broadcast content creation market. They've got features that are most commonly used. In a broadcast situation, they all handle Genlock. They all have tally lights, and again, multiple forms of outputs. Again, targeting, and they've got the ability to take what's called the S700 protocol, which is what's commonly used with what we call our RCP or MSUs. Those are the remote control panels for actually coloring or shading the cameras, so that when you switch from one camera angle to a different camera based on the lighting, the skin tone, skin color, everything like that, it doesn't change. Like the viewer doesn't see any difference from one shot to another. Ever watch a newscast? They jump amongst different people, so different camera shots. They're all consistent. On the SRG line, we don't support Genlock. We don't support S700 protocol. Now with the SRGAs, we do have a tally light, but it's really strictly for. It's not the typical talent light. Telling the talent, hey, look at this camera. That's the hot camera on air. Our tally light on the SRGAs are blinking green if you are detecting, and then once you lock on a person to track them, it'll go to solid green, and that lets the presenter know the camera's got them.
All right. Perfect. Thank you, Drew. Well, this next question is from Chris. Is there a way to use the UI remotely offsite without having to VPN into a local browser?
Whether you need a VPN or not, I'm not sure. I can't guarantee that. But the idea would be you've got to be able to get to the IP address of the camera, and then with the credentials, that's how you can get into the web UI. When COVID hit, we were dealing with some broadcasters who didn't want to bring the talent into the studio, so they set up the camera and lighting in the talent's home, and they used a tunnel VPN. And then that way, the only person back in the control room would have the ability to pan, tilt, and zoom on the talent just to keep them framed and whatnot. So a VPN or a tunnel VPN. But if you've got access to the same subnet as the camera from your PC or laptop, you would be able to log in remotely from. You could log into the web UI from a remote location.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you, Drew. This next question comes from Luke. If connected to a third-party control system, can the camera be pointed to a location using third-party control and then have Sony's AI take over, all being done in a seamless, no artifacts or additional humans needed?
So if you're looking at a third-party control system, i.e., a Crestron, Extron, you would send the command, kind of like a preset recall, move it in. Now you have had to set up the auto framing parameters. I think Ken described it. You've got a starting shot, you've got a detection zone, and then are you using tracking range or one of the other new functions? Either way, you've always got to have that starting shot, and you've always got to have your detection zone, and so you could move the camera to a different preset than the starting shot, do what you need to do, and then hit a button that'll, like as Ken said, once you send a command to the camera while it's auto framing, the auto framing is put on hold, is paused. And so what you would do is move to that new shot, and then when you want to go back to auto framing, you would have to recall whatever preset you saved the starting shot in, and then you have to issue a PTZ auto framing on command right behind it. So it's a little script you would have behind that button if it's a touch panel type control system.
Excellent. All right. We're gonna go to John next. If you switch from auto to manual PTZ control, what is the step to restore auto tracking?
So you have, so if you were using, say, our RMIP 500, our professional PTZ joystick controller, there are 6 assign buttons, and one of them could be programmed to be auto framing on and off, because that is a strictly VISCA controller, and there is the VISCA command to turn the auto framing on and off. If you're using a third-party control system, there is a CGI command to turn around and turn auto framing on or off as well. So like Ken said, everything that you see in the web UI, there is a CGI command behind it.
Perfect. All right. This next question comes from Shane. Is there a multicam mode where a PTZ will only move when it is offline and stay still when it is live, based on GPIO triggers from a switcher or anything similar?
This one's getting complicated. I have used the GPIO on our RMIP 500, but it's for on-air tally. In other words, the operator of the controller would see the tally light to say that's the hot camera, that's the on-air camera. And if the technical director turns around and says, move camera 3 to this position, well, that's an off-air camera and it's free to move. Otherwise, you could potentially be moving a camera that is currently on air. When it comes to the auto framing, I'm not too sure how you would use the GPIO to say start, stop, or pause when it's not the on-air camera.
Got it. Perfect. All right, thanks, Drew. This next question comes from Magnus. It's a little bit of a long one, so let me know if you need me to repeat it. So he says, we are using SRG A40s in smaller classrooms and BRC AM7s in larger auditoriums. Both have great tracking, and we have a Crestron module made where a teacher stops tracking. Is it possible to set an end preset when tracking is stopped? He says, currently we have to trigger a preset after tracking is stopped on Crestron.
Well, I'm a little confused as to what he means by you stop it, you want to go to a preset. Those are separate commands. So, I mean, if the Crestron for a given button press, if you had a script behind it, you could potentially do it that way. But there's no auto like recall. When the presenter leaves the area you've defined to be tracked, there is a timeout as part of the setup. And once that timeout is called wait time, once that zeroes out, the camera will automatically go back to the starting position, and it's automatically trying to detect the next face it sees in the detection zone. So I'm not sure I really answered the question, but I'm not sure I understand what he's trying to do.
Yeah, if he wants to return to old framing home position, it is easy. Just hit old framing home command. So then old framing instantly stop and go back to home position. So, but if he intend to move to different place, that will be a little bit complicated. Need two, three different commands behind.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Fantastic. Thank you both. We'll take a couple more questions. This next one comes from Matt. He says, we have a lecture hall with a flexible layout that can be configured with the podium in 2 different locations. Can you define multiple detection zones and switch between them using a command sent from an AV system like an Extron touch panel?
No, I mean, the basic setup right now is a single detection zone. It's almost like you'd have to go back and like you'd have to stop auto framing and then send it a whole new set of initialization commands for the new detection zone, if you will. I'm not saying you can't do it. It's just it's not a feature we built into the current AI setup. Like I said, it's a one starting position, one detection zone.
All right, perfect. And then I think this will be our last question. It was for, here we go. Yeah, Josh asks, can we register or track non-human faces like balls, animals, and objects? Actually, I think you answered that one. I think the answer is no, correct?
Correct.
So actually, let me take one more here. And then Chris asks, can we change auto framing functions from a remote controller, for example, from single person tracking mode to multi-person mode?
I'll take that one. That answer, not to sound wishy-washy, it's yes and no. The no would be if you're using our Visca-based controller, again, changing from single to multi-person, that's a CGI command. So from our RMIP 500 or RMIP 10, you would not be able to do that. However, with CGI-based commands, you could do it from a room control system. We actually demoed at InfoComm using a Stream Deck, and we were able to save composition presets. We were able to change the number of subjects, so it's not just single person and multi-person. We could change from 2 people to 6 people back to 1 person, all with a button push on a Stream Deck. So again, it's those are really specifically CGI commands that are needed to do that.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you, Drew and Ken. Thank you so much for participating. And thank you to all of our viewers who sent in questions. We do collect the questions, so if there are any that we didn't get to, we will be sure to follow up with you and have a Sony rep follow up with you, and hopefully can get any questions answered. Before we go, I just want to let everyone know that we do have our AV Tech Expo kicking off very shortly. Our first stop is in New York City in September. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out or visit pro.sony/avtechexpo for more information and to register. And lastly, just as a reminder, we do have all of our Tech Tuesdays on our YouTube page. So please visit if you want to see this recording or any of our previous Tech Tuesdays. And our next Tech Tuesday will be September 16th. And we will be focusing on our demo centers, live from our demo centers. So please tune in to the next Tech Tuesday. Once again, thank you all so much for your participation and for being here. And yeah, have a great day.